Finding your way.
A guide to Portfolio Northwest.
By the room.
Which was called Clara Weetman. How many years have you been an artist?
I think it's probably about 10 years this year. I went to university in Liverpool and I left in 2003. So it's 10 years since I left university, and I've been working sort of self-employed and putting my work into exhibitions, and whenever somebody asks me what my job is, since then I've told them that I'm an artist.
Did you get your ideas from travelling?
I was really lucky that I got chosen to go to Shanghai in China, and I went there last year, in last November, and I went there for a month and stayed in the university in China. And while I was in China, I don't speak any Chinese, so I couldn't really understand anything that anybody was saying to me, and I couldn't read any of the Chinese characters either. So I realised that when I'm around, I like to sort of just read signs all the time. So I'd just sort of take in those. I'd have read that sign and I'd know what it says. But when I was in China, I couldn't do that. So I found it really difficult to understand what was going on around me. But then I noticed that in Shanghai they have a lot of arrows everywhere. And I think that might just because I saw them, because an arrow is an arrow. And arrows in England are the same as arrows in China, they point in a certain direction. So I could read the arrows and I could follow the arrows to get to places as well. Because I didn't know the city very well, I could quite easily get lost, so I was following the arrows quite a lot. I was on the metro, on the underground train, going through the city as well quite a lot of the time, and on the floor in the metro stations there were arrows on the floor as well that told you which direction for the red line or for the green line and for the purple line. So a lot of the time when I was catching a train, I would be following these arrows on the floor, and sometimes I felt as though the arrows were kind of pushing me around, as though everywhere I went there was an arrow that was sort of going, go on, go that way, or go on, go that way. So I wondered whether I was in control of where I was going because these arrows were always following me.
What do the arrows mean? Do the colours have meanings?
The reason I was photographing the arrows was because I didn't understand the language. So quite a lot of them, let's have a look at those pictures there. Quite a lot of them I maybe wasn't sure. Some of them you can kind of recognise, some of them look quite familiar. Yeah. So some of them are just off-road signs or fire exit signs. Yeah. So you see that fire exit sign's got a little white arrow up there. So some of these ones on here are probably just those sort of fire exit arrows. And quite often when they had fire exit arrows, they pointed both ways, because they, which was a bit confusing. I thought, you want to know which way to go, but it gave you the option.
Do.
You.
Now.
There.
People.
In.
There.
Pictures.
Those people, well, the man on the left with the megaphone, he was at the entrance to an art gallery. There was a big China art museum, which was in the expo. It was a huge building, and he was there with the megaphone, and you had to go through a security gate and things like that. So I didn't know him, but I did feel as though he was telling me off a little bit. But the people in the other picture, I went to a park, a bit like Sefton Park, or something like that. You know, a big park, not as much grass, but a big park nonetheless. And it was probably my favourite day while I was in Shanghai. I went there, and it was a local park, so there were lots of local people there. And there was a big square in the middle of the park. And as I arrived in that square, there was lots of music going on. And in the park, there were hundreds of people dancing. So there were maybe 50 people who were line dancing in one place, and then there were another 50 people over there who were line dancing to another type of music, another amplifier, another speaker. Then behind me there was another amplifier with maybe 20 people ballroom dancing, and another amplifier with another 20 people ballroom dancing, and then over there, beyond the people playing badminton, there were another 20 people ballroom dancing. So I was sat there watching, and I used to do ballroom dancing, you see.
I want to do the same boxes.
Well, one of the men in that picture, I think, is one of the men that I danced with. I was sat there watching, and the man with the beige trousers behind the pink lady, he came up to me and asked me if I'd like to dance, and I was like, yeah! It felt like so much fun. So I got up and I danced for an hour with this man. So we were doing a jive and a salsa and a tango. I know. So I had a really good time. So I met that man with the beige trousers. I danced with him.
Did you go to a hospital to make your X-ray pictures?
Did I make those on an X-ray? No, I didn't. I made them in a similar way to making an X-ray. I made them in a photography dark room, so where you used to process, you know, when you had films in cameras, and you go into a dark room with the red light. I went into one of those, and the way that they are done is I've used the photographic paper for those, which you would normally use to make a photograph with. And I've got lots of pictures of arrows that are on acetate, you know, the see-through see-through plastic, and they're printed onto that. And in the dark, I put all of those arrows, I sort of arranged them all on the paper.
Oh, I see.
And then there's an enlarger that's got a light on it, and I can set that light to come on for certain lengths of time. So I can press a button, the light will come on and then go off again. And then I move the arrows again, so I move them a little bit, each one of them a little bit, turn the light on again, and it goes off. And then I move the arrow a little bit, turn the light on again, and it goes off. And I think I did that 10 times. And then I put the paper into the chemicals that you use to develop a photograph. And then because the light can't get through to the paper where the acetate arrows were, so wherever the arrows were.
In dark rooms.
Yeah, so in the same, like an X-ray, like you say, in an X-ray, the X-rays can't go through the bones, can it? So you get that same black and white effect. So it's doing the same sort of thing with light, and that's how I made those. So they're all one-offs. I can't make the same one again because the arrows will be ever so slightly different places when I've made them.
So every I do like I say, so I do like a different things like on the arrows and clay Weetmans.
Oh, that's me there. Put a mark, piece of paper. A rock work. Stick of glue, scissors, drawing, painting, for the fly. That one over there, that's for the fly one. The work, on that one, and then this one. Arrows. That's arrows. With heart on it.